Hello Ethno people, welcome to my kitchen in the center of Helsinki. My name is Sofia Gylling and I'm originally from Sweden, and I was a participant at Ethno in 1990, 1991 and 1992. And I said that my origin is Swedish. I was born in Sweden, and that's right. But I also have Estonian roots. My grandparents came to Sweden from Estonia during the Second World War. And at Ethno 90, I met young Estonian people from Estonia the very first time. For me, all the Estonians I had met in my hometown, they were friends of my grandparents and they were quite old. And for some kind of reason, I got the idea that all Estonians are old. But then I realized at Ethno that, they are young and they are good looking and they are good sounding and they are so charismatic and it's so beautiful language they have, such a beautiful music. And after that, I started to study Estonian, the language, and in 1994 I had this crazy idea to go to Estonia for half a year and learn as much as possible about Estonian folk music so that I could come back to Sweden and make a tour in Sweden, and tour schools with a school concert named Hey Estland, Hello Estonia. And the plan was to learn some fiddle tunes and also to learn to play the bagpipe. And of course I wanted to sing in Estonian. And then I had this idea. I knew that it was an instrument that was connected to Estonia also. And it looks like this, could look like this. And this is a bowed lyre, also called bowed harp. In original it's called also talharpa. Beloved children, they have many names. But I realized when I came to Estonia that it was quite easy to learn fiddle tunes. It was quite easy to learn to sing in Estonian, even though it was quite hard to get the dialect right and to learn the language. But the most problematic was really the bowed harp, because there were no makers who were making them from a sale. The only instrument that were circulating, they had been built by players who needed to make instruments for themselves so that they had something to play on. So I did the same as they had done. I went to Tartu, I went to the archive, and at this archive they also have quite much material from the islands in the western part of Estonia. And who lived there? There lived not only Estonians, there were Estonian islands and Estonian villages, but there were also some villages and islands that had been populated with Swedes since the medieval days. They think that the first Swedes came there during the 13th century, or that they were there even earlier. And then during the centuries there came more and more. Some came from Finland and some came from Sweden. And you can say that it was like a Swedish speaking minority in Estonia that changed during times. But among these people, especially on Vormsi, Ormsö, this bowed harp was played. And I'm going to start the workshop with playing some tunes on the bowed lyre and say that when I started to play this one, I was a bit, I wasn't afraid, but I didn't quite know how to play it, because I knew how to play the violin, the fiddle, but I didn't know how to play this kind of an instrument. Like, what should it sound like? It's one thing just to manage to get melodies out. And then I met with the only man I knew by then who was playing this kind of an instrument, and he lived in Stockholm. His name was Styrbjörn Bergelt. And he was just, he wasn't laughing, but he was like telling me that the way I was playing was a little bit too much violinistic. I could be more tough in the playing of this instrument and use more drone strings, etc. So yeah, that is what I have been doing. But now I'm going to play some lakes that were collected in Ormsö Island in 1903, 1904. As you notice, this is like a fast waltz, and it can be danced. Of course, you can dance it in couples, but most frequently it was danced like in a big circle or as a snake moving around the table. Gonna play one more. Quite much of the music that I first found or got to know was connected with a wedding ceremony, the rituals, and one of the most interesting part of the wedding. I have heard about this also in the Estonian tradition, the wedding ceremony rituals, that at some parts it is like time for the bride to cry, and they said that now is the last time you have to cry now as a bride, because when you're a married woman, you have so much work to do, and you will have kids, and you have no time anymore to complain. It's just to do it. And I think that sometimes it's still like, you can be a very happy person, but sometimes it's so nice just to have those tunes and songs to let out some of the more melancholic Bruleken. And most of the bowed lyres, the talharpas, they are tuned in Estonia. I know that this is the case. They are tuned like an ordinary fiddle, but 1 octave below. And I just realized when I was experimenting with some strings. These strings are, by the way, made by Per Runberg in Sweden, and the last one is made of C-string, yeah. And I just realized that for me it's better to have it tuned as a viola, because then it's easier to use for singing, and I very much like to sing with this, and I will very soon tell you the reason. The reason is that these small short lakes, they are ordinary, like they have like 4 lines musically, and I also realized that there are texts to some of the lakes. And when you realize that there are songs with the text, the first question is, what are they singing about? And then you try to get to learn the dialect that much that you can understand the songs. And then when you have learned the meaning, then it's not very hard to get into the situation that you really would like to sing them as well. And then is, of course, the thing is, how should I pronounce these words, these texts? And first I was just reading all kinds of translations, and then I met some Estonia Swedes who are living in Sweden since the Second World War, and they were brought up in the Estonia-Swedish dialect. And it was really helpful to hear how they speak and hear how they sang, where they are like putting the text in their mouths. And then I learned very much when I ended up in Finland 5 years ago, when I got to know the Finnish-Swedish dialects. Then I heard that quite much of the rhythm in the dialect was the same. So it has taken a very long time to get to know the dialect. And I really understand if it's hard for you to grasp it just during a workshop. But I would like to show you a little about the words behind the songs, especially from the Ormsö island. And I will start with the songs which are closely connected to the wedding. And I will start with a love song. A love song that, the meaning goes like this. My thoughts cast anchor as I walk around alone. My mind is there inside, just behind the gate. This means, of course, that just behind the gate, it is, of course, where a nice little girl is living, I suppose. But now I'm going to show you the text, and I'm going to sing it first a little bit slower, and then sing it in tempo. And you're welcome to join. Minne kan, min tankar gastankar där som jag sorg vankar, min sinne äter inne, rakt fatt och på hångrinne. Min tankar gastankar där som jag sorg vankar, min sinne äter inne, rakt fatt och på hångrinne. And then I found a quite nice song, which is, I think the meaning is that it is a boy who is very much interested in girls, and this is like a funny song made about him, and it says, "You funny marsh andors, you are just thinking of the wedding bed and a motley quilt on top, and the white sheet behind the table." The white sheet behind the table, it tells about what the room looks like when it's wedding. They put a white sheet behind the table with some flowers, red flowers made of yarn, etc. And the wedding bed is, of course, very important, and it had a very nice wedding quilt on top. So, in fact, it's just Let's see here again. This is what it looks like in dialect. Tururen mars andors, tänk bara oppa husänke, husänke upprukatelte, huitlokante backbordi. Tururen mars andors, tänk bara oppa husänke, husänke upprukatelte, huitlokante backbordi. Turore marsam tors, tänk bara oppa husänke, husänke upprukatelte, huitlokante backbordi. And maybe this Marsh-Anders was lucky in love, and maybe he really got a bride at last. Anyway, this is a song that is about the wedding. And it says that meat and white bread are the most tasty. Beer and vodka are the most funny. The bride and the groom are the most beautiful. And uninvited guests are the most lazy. And it looks like this, and it sounds... Ketuka bre alguast, elo bremmene alleroras, komene alfagras, topasiare allatast. Ketuka bre alguast, elo bremmene alleroras, komene alfag, topasiare allatast. Ketuka bre alguast, elo bremmene alleroras, komene alfag, stopasiare allatast. And as you can see, these little songs, they have so many like symbols inside that are telling about something very much bigger, all ceremonies, etc. And I realized that when I met with people who live in Urmsö today and whose mother tongue is Estonian, but who are very interested in the old culture, and they also would like to have some of the songs and the dances and the music at school. Then we realized that we need to take some of these songs and translate them into Estonian, because then you can use these songs as a keyhole into history. It works fantastically also in Estonian, I must say. But let's see here. The keyhole, yeah. Sometimes I describe myself as a music detective. I'm using music as a track. I'm trying to understand what has been going on and what is going on. On Ormsö Island, it was a story about a great wedding in a village called Busby. And the story goes that it was a huge wedding with lots of guests, and it was a really very charismatic bagpiper at the wedding. And he played and he played, and the wedding got crazy. And finally he was just walking with his bagpipe just to the sea, and the entire wedding went with him. And after that, Busby village is gone. This is quite scary, and I don't know really. Some people have used this story as a reason to why bagpipe shouldn't be played on Ormsö Island. But it also says something about that bagpipe has been a part of life in Ormsö. And I have found another footstep where you can see that the bagpipe has really been there. And this one I found in an archive in Tallinn. It was Kyrillos Kreek. He was an Estonian. Later he was a composer, but in his youth he was very much collecting melodies both among Estonians and among Sweden Estonians. And when he was a child, he also lived on Vormsi Island, as his father was a teacher in school. And well, this song is about a bagpipe, and it goes like this. The meaning is, oh my dearest, my dear, come and sit near me. If you get me the bagpipe, I will play you your own tune. Hois hoisade, bagpiping. Hois hoisade, bagpiping. You can also hear when I sing it that there is a part that is kind of imitating the bagpipe song tune, the way you play the bagpipe. Kerste kära, kom lite nära. Har du hämtat med Tobbe som ska jag? Så när jag pipar din like, hojs hojsade Tobbe-rora, det hojs hojsade Tobbe-rora. Kerste kära, kom lite nära. Har du hämtat med Tobbe som när jag pipar din like, hojs hojsade Tobbe-rora, det hojs hojsade Tobbe-rora. Kerste kära, kom lite nära. Har du hämtat med Tobbe så ska jag naja din like. Hojs hojsade Tobbe-rora, det hojs hojsade Tobbe-rora. Sorry, I got the words a little bit long. It should of course be har du hämtat med Tobbe så naja pipa din like. Exactly as I wrote here. And yeah, it's very nice being a detective, I must say. It's another very interesting footstep in music. It's also it's very connected with the language, the text of songs. And I realized when I